Okay, so all I'm doing here is I'm taking my cut LED strips here and I'm cutting back to expose the positive and negative pads there. And as you can see on this one here, I've got that one exposed. That way I can solder to it. And then I'm going to get all four completely set up here. And then we'll get them put up on the inside there. And then we'll probably seal over top of it as well. Hopefully it's not too much weight on my vinyl on the top, but it should be okay. But we'll go ahead and have a look here in a moment. Alright, so I've got them all cut here. So these two here. And I'm just going to pre-use these existing ones here on these ones. And we'll go from there. I should put some heat shrink on the other ones, but I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I'll definitely put them on the connectors. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll come up with something. Basically, I just got to find some heat shrink tubing that will fit the end here on these guys here. And then be able to bring it back enough and then heat it up once I get everything soldered on. Okay, so I've got my heat shrink tubing that I cut here. I usually have a random pack lying around that I'll buy random refillers off of eBay or Amazon. So all I'm going to do is slide that over that and put it back about there for now. And once I get the solder connections on there, then I'll slide it over. Then we'll seal that up so that's nice and watertight as much as we can. For this, what I will be using is I'll be using this 18 gauge wire. I do have some 24 gauge, but nothing in between that I wanted. So unfortunately, we'll use this. It looks pretty close to what is on there, as you can see. Pretty close. We'll call it good. And yeah, I'm gonna do so the distance each one will be, I have 27 inches basically on the inside here. So from the inside EMT conduit there to right up above here to this one here, the inside is about 27 inches. So I'm gonna just divide that by 4, and I think it's 6 and 3/4 inches. And from there, what I'll do is just space them out. So as long as I even do 6.5 inches, that way I don't have one light strip just hiding out in the corner there. So 1.5 inches in on each side. That'll give me 24. And then I'll do 6 inches in between. Yeah, so let's do that. 1.5 inches in on each side. So that'll be my 3 inches, 24 inches. And then, yeah, we'll get that installed with the 6-inch gap in between each of them. And that'll give me enough light, hopefully, to be able to make a decent system here. So I just got the power supply mounted on there. As you can see, it's all in there nicely. So now we're just going to work on getting the panel for the side of it here going. And then I'm not too sure if I want to have a separate panel for the water pump or have something separated. But everything will end up going into the top corner there for the water. And yeah, this gives us a lot of room to be able to run whatever heat comes from the enclosure here. And I think what I'll do is I'll take a hole and put it in the top here, so we can make a intake into this chamber. So any heat being built up in here, we could feed it into here, and then we'll build another intake here to take any cooler temperatures and or bring a fresh air intake, and then have the dehumidifier in here at some point to be able to take any moisture out of the air, and then have that pumped back into the bay here. Something like that. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do there, but anyways, that's this guy so far. I'm going to go ahead and start working on the panel there to get the Raspberry Pi mounted, and then we will go ahead and yeah, start plugging things in. So we'll continue on here. Okay, so since I have all this room to work with on here, I noticed that this sticks down and I'm not able to attach another piece here. So I'm printing out another piece that will act as a mount, and then it'll overlap and be able to mount on here, so I can have a full strip down. So it's just printing over here, and basically it's just gonna overlap and connect together, and then I can do multiple panels, and then that way I can actually put my relays and everything on there. And then what I'll do on the side here is I'm going to make a little extension piece that comes out a little bit to guard the pump and the solenoid, and then that way, no matter what, nothing is going to be hopefully sprayed over into this area in a worst case scenario. But we'll see what happens here, and then I'll come up with another little corner panel here, which then I will put my thermostat unit on. I'm going to go with this method for right now, just so I can get things up and running, and then we'll get I got to find a better 12-volt heater. I did have a 12-volt little car heater, but I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. It might draw too much power from this guy to run everything in the system, so we'll just carry on with that. And but yeah, so far the power supply mount works great. This piece here, I do have it uploaded, so just in case someone wants to only do a thinner panel, because this here will go on this top part here as well. It's evenly spaced here, and the best way to do it is just so far I find is this way, but it would have been nicer to have another bar. But if I do the panels going down, then I'll be able to just basically drill holes where I need to put my standoffs. So on this plate here, I just have my really cheap nylon standoff kit here, and I'm just using these to connect. That way I can kind of get a better board that's going to be more universal, because a lot of the boards, be it something that I've put on or something that someone else wants to put on, the boards might be slightly different, or a completely different board that is not gonna, you know, like these relay boards, you never know if you're gonna get them the right size. But if you just do that, put the feet on it, drill your holes, it's just through plastic, and throw your standoffs in them, then it should be fine. There's no need for metal standoffs on this one, but if you have them, you can use them. And yeah, I'm just going to carry on getting that one printed, and then I'll print up, I think, 1 or 2 more panels, full panels here. So we'll have 3 rows here, and that should give us enough room to get everything mounted. I was thinking about putting a screen in as well, but I don't know. I don't think we need an actual monitor on here to run the system, because we can do it all remotely. And I did go with the Pi 4 2GB version on here. I did originally have a 3 on it, but I might go back to it just for power consumption. But we'll see how this goes. I might even just put the 3 on there as well and do a dual board for Raspberry Pis, and then basically have one for streaming to Twitch or YouTube or something like that for fun, to see if we can get it to the full setup going. And yeah, I do have the camera mount that will be put up top here, and then I'll just get a USB webcam and plug that in through there, and it should work well. And then the only other thing to really connect everything is just keeping the wire management up, and I'll just basically have a gap in between, or some sort of hanger that I can wrap the wire in and behind and keep it all nice and straight, and then that way everything looks pretty, and then everything will be labeled, hopefully. But yeah, that's it for right at the moment here. So getting the mount printed, and then getting the relays, 2 relays installed, and the new Raspberry Pi mount, as well as the thermostat, and then we can start running hoses and getting our containers set up, and then hopefully start growing here this week. But right at the moment here, yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, so we'll see what happens. So anyway, stay tuned for that. We got lots more going on, so we'll be back here shortly. I think that'll be it for this week's kind of electronics area here. It's just going to be me tidying up here, but I'll try to get this little bit of footage of it all completed for at the end of the video here, and yeah, we'll go from there. I also do have this guy here I was thinking about using. It's just a 12 to 5 volt adapter, and that does 5 volt 3 amp max. So I'm going to test that out and see if I can get that on both of the cables, or if it's all together that's what it does. Because if it is just on one, then I can draw that max current, then I will have to go with a 3 Raspberry Pi 3. And yeah, we'll be back here shortly. I thought I'd mention is I was thinking about adding another power supply just for the 5 volt lines, just to kind of separate things and not draw so much off of this one. I've had this, I do have another 12 volt power supply like this, but I don't think I can actually adjust the voltage down enough to make it worthwhile to use. I think it goes down to like 10 volts, but yeah, these are just really cheap hobby power supplies. Maybe I'll see what else I got lying around that might work as well, and then I can actually mount it somewhere up top here. And basically, if I need to run another bar up here, all I'm going to do is use a connector like this to slide into the bottom here, and then the top here, and then mount it to it, or basically print that plate like that and slide it in. Well, I'm not too happy about this. I'm getting some lifting on a couple of my edges here. You can see it pretty good on that one. I'm not used to printing big prints like this, so everything else usually prints fairly well. So, but on the last print there, just to give you an idea, like And this is not with PLA, this stuff here, but as you can tell, it's pretty worse for wear there. So I'm hoping that this one comes out better, but hopefully maybe I can heat it up, level it out a bit, but we'll go with this for now. Not sure why the hole isn't on that one. It is on the other one, but or maybe it's just underneath it. Anyways, thought I'd just share that. These bigger prints are sometimes a pain. I don't know if it's my printer or if it's me, but everything else usually prints fine. These kind of things print really well compared to that. We'll wait till this is finished and we will get this mounted. Okay, so as much as I want to be, I don't want to be printing out these panels here constantly. I want to start getting the system going so I can get my plants going. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just mount a board here that I'll be able to screw into and be able to mount my actual standoffs in, something thin. I might have something, I don't know. I'm just thinking this is going to take too long to do this, to get because these are flexing too much, they're bending. So it definitely, you can see it more from this side here, and you can kind of see that bend in that right there. And yeah, that's just a little bit too much. So yeah, we got to figure out something for that. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so I've been working on the panel here. As you can see, it is, well, a hot mess here. Right now I'm just going to solder up this guy to this guy. Then I'm going to run a few more wires and on my relays, run the power lines for that. And then I think all I really have left is to add my thermostat. Which, where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, there it is. So here's my thermostat that I'll be using. So this will be completely separate from everything else for now. I will probably change this up and run another relay, getting rid of this so I can run it through the Raspberry Pi, and that way I can actually log temperatures and things better with it there. But for now, I'll use this. This will get it up and running, and the temperatures in my unit, and then I have the air circulation, and I don't think I'll get the dehumidifier working or installed before my project needs to be done, so I'm going to try it as is, and I'll slowly add things onto it. Unfortunately, we're getting down to, today's what, December 11th here, so I need to get growing so I have some results and hopefully maybe part of something growing, so I can have a little bit more proof of concept. I'm about, yeah, I wanted everything planted a couple weeks ago, but it didn't happen. So anyways, the relays for the flow and the water relays are all plugged in. I have those guys going down here. This should be them here onto the Raspberry Pi, and this one here will be for my lights and a couple of the other items. Alright, anyways, I'm going to get this soldered up, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the top part and explain everything a bit more there. But here is the back part here. Okay, so I did install this 5-volt relay right here, but I don't think I need it. So far I'm running four relays here, so I got 8 total relays going here. Everything is wired up there, and then we have it all running to the Raspberry Pi here. And then, yeah, so we have the water pump, the mini valve here, valve relay, normally closed, the flow sensor here, and yeah, I think that's it. And then we have an actual on and off rocker switch for the Raspberry Pi, going down to a 12 volt to 5 volt voltage regulator here. I took this off of my solar panel setup. Like I said, I would like to be able to run this all off of my solar panels. And then for the fuses, basically, depending on what it is, I have the max amperage for each one on it. That way I'm not going to be popping anything or putting too much voltage to it, just kind of saving everything. We'll see how that goes. Down from here to our water reservoir, which I don't have yet, over to the flow meter, to the relays, or the solenoids here, and then from the solenoids to each area. So 2 of them will be used for the bottom watering, and then 2 will be used for my upper watering area that I'm gonna have. But for now, I'm not sure I will, but I have 4 trays, so I might just run all 4 of these down low for now, and then change it up and then branch them off. We'll see what happens. I'm not too sure yet. Just kind of putting it together, and whatever happens is kind of where we're going with this. And then before I go to mount this and turn everything on, we'll go ahead, we'll get all the wires cleaned up and get some wrap around it and make it all a little bit more prettier, and clean up that back a lot. Alright, so I just got it up and running here. It looks like I do have power to both my 12 volt relay boards. The temp board here, the thermostat board, is looking like it's working. We've got power to the Raspberry Pi, which is coming off this guy. Got everything fused. I got my 4 relays here, and then I have my 4 here for my relays here, right here, and then I have this one here, which will be controlling will be for the flow sensor. So I'm just doing the initial 20-minute no fire test, make sure everything's not going to start on fire, and then we'll go ahead and start working our way through everything else. And then we'll try to turn the lights on here for the relay, and that way we can set the timing. We want to do 16 hours light, 8 hours, or sorry, yeah, we'll do 16 hours light, 8 hours dark. And then we'll get the soil moisture meters going, as well as a few other little odds and ends. So there is no reason why I couldn't run this here off of the Raspberry Pi, which I probably might still. Since I do have a relay open there, I'm going to be able to use a temperature and humidity sensor inside, and run multiples and maybe take averages. We'll see what happens. So far, power's stable, temperature's reading. I haven't popped any of the fuses in it yet, so I think we're good. Knock on wood. Alright, so this is not turning out the way I wanted it to. For some reason, something's happened here, so I have to create another board to be able to connect all these guys. But after looking, I think this is actually just for air. I haven't tested it with water yet, so I don't know if it'll actually work or not. So what I'm going to do is I have another solenoid, and for right now I'm going to run it, and then basically do the sensing in the unit on one of the containers for now. So right now I do have the lights and the pump on the relay, but the solenoids are not going properly. I need to make a board for them to work properly, so I'll keep that mounted there for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to run Down below here, I'm going to put my container for my water. I'm going to have a fill valve over on the front side here, so that way I can fill up from here, and it's going to go into the container, and we'll do eventually a water level indicator and alarm. But I need to get growing, and everything's just kind of sitting there. So this is just to get things going, and then we'll slowly attack little bits and pieces. But yet we're running out of time for this project, and I got lots to do. So we're going to cut a few corners, but I will be coming back and playing around with this more throughout the winter months here, and that way we're a little bit more prepared for next year, and I can have a better idea of what to do. And plus, it'd be nice to have a nice kit together that maybe, you know, we can give away. So hopefully by the end of this, I will have a kit together, and we can get someone else trying it out as well. Okay, so I needed something to hold my water. Unfortunately, all I got is this container here. That's going to work for right now. The good thing about making your own system like this is you're able to actually just redesign it as you go. You don't have to have any set rules or anything like that. You're able to just make what you want. So depending on what materials you have, you can make something at a low cost. So I used to use these as storage for my failed prints there, so hence the PLA on the top there. But we're going to be repurposing this container for this. Now I have my water solenoid here, which will go into here. To do that, what we're going to do is use some of these parts. Not all of them, probably this one here, this one here, that one, maybe that one. Well, that one, yeah, we'll use these two for sure. I can't remember if I wanted this one here or this one here. Basically, all it is going to connect here, and then this here is going to go on the inside here, and then this guy is going to go on the outer sleeve to seal around the container. And then we're going to be able to use some epoxy or some sort of glue or whatever just to seal it up, and then use some silicone or something to seal it, make sure it's all good. But yeah, so that's what that will be. So, and then that will go, no, that's not it. We need the adapter. So it's going to go like this, and then into whatever piece, like so, but not that piece. I think it's on the other side. It's going to go in. Water goes out that way, so I know this will be this piece here will be the inside. This will have a filter in it, so that way when it's drawing in water, anything, if we're even doing a rain barrel collection system or something like that, that's going to do a little pre-filtering for us. Now we could install stuff like UV disinfectant lighting, air bubblers, and all sorts of things to keep the water at the best it can be, as well as adding a pH balancer, and that way we could add whatever nutrients to our system that we require. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this guy put together here on here, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we are getting there. So I just wanted to show you here. So here's this piece for the solenoid. I just cleaned up most of my parts here. I just kind of did a little trace around here, and I don't want to go all the way because I just want it to go in. All I'm going to do is just keep trimming around here until I get everything just right. And then basically what I'm going to do is on this piece here, this is going to be our water intake filter, pre-filter. Now there is a filter on the inside of this one here, but you know what, just so we don't have to rely on going to this one all the time, and we're going to be able to just remove this filter if we ever need to do any cleaning or maintenance on it. So this will just slide on, and bam. So I've got 2 filters cut. You can see it's a little painted there. That's because I actually had made this part for another project that I didn't end up completing, but I started. So I'm going to roll a little bit of footage on that just so you can see exactly how I made this and what it should look like when I'm done. This one here will go inside the rain barrel, and I've added a mesh filtering on it so that way if any debris from the gutters falls into it, it's not going to get sucked up into there. So yeah, all I used was some of this mesh filtering I had lying around here, and I did the outer, well, the inner part here, as well as I did inside here as well. And then I just basically spray painted it, clear coated it a few times, and that way it just gives it a little bit more of a bonding. And then this will go on the outside of the barrel, and then the 12 volt solenoid will go into there, and then from the 12 volt solenoid it'll go to the smaller line, which then will go to the 12 volt pump, and then from the 12 volt pump we'll go to the garden bed, and then we'll get everything all wired up. What I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using some Gorilla epoxy to put everything together. And then what I'm going to do is just silicone around everything afterwards, and yeah, it should be good. It should be watertight by that point. And all I'm going to do is this piece here will be on the inside of the bucket here, and then this piece here is going to go on to here now, and this is going to allow me to put this filter here on, and then this filter here on the inside here, so it'll be a mesh grill around the inside here. And then when this is in the unit like this, I'm just going to use this piece here to connect into it here, like so. And then this sleeve here is going to seal the outside there, and that way I can get more sealing around it, and then that will go on it. Something like that. Sorry for the poor lighting here, I'm just kind of winging it right now. So that's going to go on like that. That's going to be in here. The container is going to be set in there, and this will be on the other side there, filtering the water. I think I'll point it downwards, and then of course this here will then go into this here, and then I will epoxy this one in, and then that way that is all like this, but straight of course. And then we can attach our hose from here to our water pump, and then we'll build the circuit on some perf board for now, and that way we can get this hooked up to the relay and be able to control when this turns on, so that way when the pump activates it can actually pull some water. And then later on down the road, like I said, we can add all sorts of stuff to this. Now, this is a project I'll be working on even after the competition is done. So, unfortunately, I'm just going based on what I have for time. But anyways, you can paint your container whatever you want to do, make it look good, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just going for a functioning unit right now. So, you know what? Paperinik, Max Scoop, yeah. It works for more than just cat litter, I guess. Great containers to have. That's why I tend to buy these ones, to be honest with you. You get a free bucket out of the deal. Why not, right? I'll be right back here with this all installed on the container. Okay, so I've got my main lines run to 2 of my containers. I still have 2 to go. I've got my pucks all soaked here, ready for placing them throughout, and then covering, and then getting my soil moisture meter in, as well as the top cover, and then get my seeds planted. Now over here I've got my wonderful water collection, or water container here, And eventually we will be running a dehumidifier on the inside here, so that way whatever humidity is collected will then be put back into the container here, and we'll have to figure out something there. So yeah, the hose is coming up, goes to the pump, and which then goes to the flow meter. Once again, we're going to get rid of this guy here for now. We'll connect oxygen lines to it later, and that will be then one will go into the tank and another one will be put either further, another line will be run and then brought back into the bottom of these guys here, and then that way we can add oxygen going upwards. We'll see what happens here. I might just inject more oxygen into the barrel, but we'll see what happens. I'm not too sure what we'll do there. Other than that, everything's wired up. The thermostat on the inside here, we do have that sticking out now. We have the line running to our 5-volt heating pads here. So those guys will get mounted on the back wall here, I do believe. That's what I'm going to do. But other than that, I'm just going to get some covers made up for my soil moisture meter and get 4 of those wired up for now. I want to monitor all 4 containers, but I want to only go based on one reading, so I'll have to see how they kind of vary, and then that way I can get a proper watering schedule for everything there. And hopefully real quick here we'll be all up and running. But the main thing was getting everything wired up. As you can see, I think one of these 4 is going to come off, I do believe. No, because I still have the 12-volt relays hooked up here, both of them at the same time. So we will get everything else connected here and get powered up. Once the silicone is all dry around all my connections, I'll do a water test. Other than that, I'm having to kind of convert, so hence the reason why I want to kind of gum it up, just add a little bit more pressure. The clamps I have are a little thick, so I'm not going to be able to put as much pressure on the joint there, but I don't have the proper adapters, so we're just making do with what we have. And I found these T adapters have a wider center than the outer, so we're going to go with that. And yeah, but the main thing we're doing right now is the wiring. I'll go more into detail on the pumps and flow meter, and then all the actual software we're using here. Other than that, I will be back shortly. I was originally going to build a breakout board for this guy here so it could be quickly disconnected, which I still might do, just in case I need to upgrade the water container or change it out somehow. So that might be a future thing to do. There's definitely a lot we can do in the future when it comes to this. It's just getting it to the point where we can get up and running, get the seeds all planted here. I'm way off time, so I'm probably not going to have anything really growing by the time the competition ends, but definitely you guys will be at least able to go through my learning experiences here. It definitely takes a lot more planning than I thought. As you can see, we're getting a few wires in the back here. I would have loved to have made it a lot cleaner, which will happen later on. We're just getting up and running. That's the main thing. So that's it for right now. I've got lots to do, so I'm going to get on it. And I'll update as I go along here. Okay, so sometimes I get a little paranoid when it comes to water and electronics. So what I did was I grabbed some Flex Seal here and I sprayed the inside of my container over here. So I got that all sprayed in the inside there around the connections and that. And then I'll probably do something extra around the solenoid. And then around my tubing up here, as you can see. There we go. So I've got my tubing going. The air line is currently disconnected. I've got my line going down and in. So we're going up here from the solenoid here. That's going to open. Pump's going to turn on. Water flow meter. It'll go through. Then on the inside there we'll have the soil moisture meters in all 4 of them of the containers down below. I will be adding another rack up top, but for now we're just going to do the 4, because you can always add on to a project, right? And I found on Thingiverse these covers for it, so I'm going to be able to stick that in the middle there and have it covered up, and then we'll get an average reading and be able to adjust our water accordingly. So what I'm doing right now though is I am running the lines to my containers here. So as you can see here, it's just going to go down, it's going to tee off underneath there. You can't really see that there. I'll show you on the next one here. Actually, I can just go like this. So if we go down here, so right here I have it just coming in, and then it tees off, and then we'll run our lines going down the middle of on the sides of the center row. That way we get water kind of in that middle area, and then it'll just kind of go out, and then we'll have our soil moisture meter in the middle of the container, and then everything will just grow up hopefully. Now I was, however, wishing I could get this soil up more, but it looks like I need a few more bags of soil. So if I can get some more soil, I'm going to raise this up and get those peat pucks. These guys over here that are sitting here doing nothing right at the moment here. So they're up level with the container, so I can put my vinyl over top of it, poke my holes, get my seeds planted, and get things growing. So hopefully that'll happen here soon, but for right now I'm just drilling small holes into the water lines here. We're going to make it as a soaker hose, and basically I have this little jig set up here, so every 1/2 inch is going to get a drill hole, and I'm going to leave a gap on one end of the line there. Basically that's where the bend's going to happen, so we don't want too much water pooling up on the end there. So we're going to start a little bit later, so that way it's kind of more uniform going down. And then all I'm using is just one of these little tiny bits here, and yeah, I'm just puncturing it every 1/2 inch down the line. So I'm going to continue doing that. And that's it, more to go, but the reason why I'm just using that bit there is because that way all my holes will then be equal. You probably could use whatever else, but to me this was just the quickest and easiest way to do it, and making sure I've got everything lined up properly with the jig there. So I don't know if you can see that or not. So you can somewhat see it there, but yeah, there you go. That's every 1/2 inch. And yeah, I'm just going to repeat that another 4 times for the other lines there, or for the other 2 containers, and yeah, I'll get this all put together and hopefully get some more soil. Okay, so all I'm going to do here is I've now got all my holes in my lines. So now I'm going to connect it to each line here, and then I will plug the end, and then I'll put my soil down. I'll put my pucks on top of that, and then I'll cover it all up, and then we'll have the equivalent of that guy. Alright, so we're finally up and running. I've got my 12 volt solenoid finally wired up. Raspberry Pi is running all the software, and so the only thing not hooked up right here is the 12 volt or the 12 volt error solenoids. Like I said, we're going to use that later on with oxygen. I have everything going through its respectable panel for fusing. So based on the amperage of the device, it gets the fuse that it requires. And that's simple as just finding out the specs on whatever you're installing. Everything is done up properly, like this 12 volt 3 amp. So this guy here is on its own circuit. I want to say it's a 3 amp circuit. And then we have this guy here. It's should be on a 3 or a 5. Anyways, I'll have to retrace my wiring, but yeah, anyways, they are all protected. You don't want to go with something too large because you want to make sure it actually trips when it needs to. Pump is running. Relay is running over there. Then the far one is the only one we're using. We're using 12 volts on it. I still have 2 relays that I can hook up. Like I said, this one's going to go directly to the oxygen lines once we get that going. So that's going to take up that. And then I wanted a couple extra. These are just 5 volt ones, but I do have a 5 volt line in the back, which I'm going to upgrade to be a little bit more stable. Now in the back here, I just have some holes punched here, and once again, a big rat's nest of wiring. One day I will clean this up so this looks a lot better, but we're working on project deadline here. And inside here, lights come in, as well as the temperature probe here. And then over here we have our 2 heating pads. So they're warmers, so they're not going to get too hot in the back there, but it'll be enough to add some heat into the enclosure, and over time, because it'll be sealed, we won't have to worry about touching it. And then we have our peat pucks in there. So basically it started off like this, then I filled it like this, and then I ran the lines like this. So it's going to come in and out this side here, which all of these will get flipped around. I'm just going to get some more of the Pro Mix for this, so that way I can get this raised up a little bit so those peat pucks are up, and that way I can just put the vinyl over top of it. And then I still have these channels here, which I think what I'll do later on is run the oxygen lines under there as well. In the back here I have 4 holes halfway in between each one there. You can see that one just a little bit right there. And yeah, so they're all in line. So I'll put my connectors in, and then I'll run them to the containers here, and then this will be sealed, and then we'll just puncture our holes in the vinyl for where we're going to plant our seeds, so that way this is sealed. Now these could be pre-made trays if you really wanted to, so that way you just have to connect new ones whenever. This is something that you could have a storage of. Okay, so I've got my planters all planted here. I've got my seeds in them. I've got 2 rows of each lettuce here, full thing of spinach, and a row of each of radishes, parsley, and green onions. So I'll have that here. So I'm doing green onions, parsley, radishes, and then this is all spinach. This is the baby leaf, and then the city garden blend are going to be these 2 rows here. So I'm going to flip this around so this will be over here, and then we have the other one over here. And once again, we just need to hook up the water lines there. I'm going to go ahead and start filling up the water reservoir over here, just to make sure we have no leaks on it, and it's good to go. Okay, so I have water in my bucket there. I'm just having a look here. Looks like it's a little cooler in here tonight than it usually is, so I have a feeling that these guys are turned on. So these guys are actually warming up in here. So that's what we want. But unfortunately, I don't have it enclosed, so it's gonna just be heating up my room. So I'll probably power that down for now. I have the water lines all hooked up. I have all my seeds planted, my hose lines run. So now, before I go ahead and cover these with plastic, I want to make sure that there's no leaks in the system here. So over here, I've got my 12 volt solenoid here, and then that's going up to my relay here. And yeah, hopefully it all works. I'm gonna just turn everything on and I will be right back. Okay, so I got water in my line here. My solenoid is open. Temperature is slowly rising in the enclosure. Alright, I don't think I can actually I guess what I'll have to do is I would like to record it, so I'm gonna have to bring up the dashboard on my Raspberry Pi. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we are going to go over here to our dashboard for our Terrarium Pi here, and we're gonna go down to our switches and then go to status, and then as we can see, the light switch is on. And the tank here, the 12 volt solenoid, is on, so that means it's open so water can flow. And then we're going to turn the pump on here in just a second here, and I'm going to run it, but if anything happens, any leaks up by that flow sensor or anything like that, I'm going to have to just hit the main power supply, and we'll go from there. But here we go. So it seems the initial priming seems to be an issue. I think I need more water in my bucket here, so I can tilt it a bit more to get that water flow going. Either that or I have an actual air no, I'm not feeling any. Okay, so I'm gonna get some more water and I'm just gonna let this run, and hopefully we get that going. So it does seem to be I do have one leak already, so yeah, we're gonna have to get that guy sorted. Okay, so I really don't think that's gonna work. So unfortunately the seal that is on this outer ring here has gotten a leak. I'm just checking around my print here. I'm not seeing any water leaking there. All the water that's underneath there is from this piece here and that ring there. So I think I do have a kit with more rings in it, so I'm gonna see if I have something that might work a little bit better in that. So I'll be right back. For the moment here, while I'm doing my testing, just so the heat's not constantly going on in there, I've got this sheeting that we used on the inside of the enclosure there. So I'm just gonna let that hang out while it does its thing, just so, yeah. I might have to get a little longer one, but for now we'll just use this. That way we can actually see inside of it, and not constantly have the heater being turned on, because right now we're sitting at 21.7, so we know it is working. But anyways, I was going to find that piece, so I'm going to do that now. Alright, so I always keep one of these guys kicking around. It's just a plumbing repair kit. Comes with like 1,000,001 different connectors and gaskets and stuff like that. So hopefully we can find one. Like, I'm looking for something like that we might be able to put on there that's going to be a little thicker, just so we can get a better seal around the inside there. Yeah, so I think I've used even parts of this to fix a reel-to-reel machine, that kind of a thing. So they're good to have around, because you never know when you're going to need something like that. Just random parts that you can even shave to what you need. So I'm going to look through there and see what we can find. Okay, so this one here is the one I pulled off of the connector there. And this one here looks like it's just a little bit bigger. Just by a little bit. So I'm going to put that one on, see if that works. If not, we're going to have to come up with something else, or change the end here, get something printed. Alright, so as you can see, much thicker on there, so hopefully that'll seal properly. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to cut it. Yeah, let's put it on there and see if it'll actually fit. Okay, so the good news is I got it on, but I can't clip it on, but it's a tight seal now. I've got no leaking. So I'm going to try again here and see what happens when I turn the pump on. So up here, I don't know if you can see it. Just gotta let it wind up here. So I'm wondering if I have it too many filters on it there, and the water's just not getting in there because there is too much air. I've got no water down there, so nothing running down the hose. So that's sealed. I don't want to tip it. We just want to get some of that pressure going there. I've got one little water bubble coming up here, so something is happening. Let's see if it makes its way up here. So it's slowly looking like it's doing something here. Not much. Needs more water up there to prime it. Nope. Focus in on that. So you can see it there. It's wanting to work. Got to work that water out of, or that air out of there. There we go. Now we've got some pressure building up in the line here. So we got some water coming up, and that should be slowly creeping up there. Okay, so it stopped bubbling up here. So we're just waiting. Not feeling any water there yet. Still no water there. So we finally got water going down the hose here. So far No leaking. It is taking its time. It is pulling all that air out of there. So I'm probably going to have to add more water to my container. No leaking, I don't think, around my flow sensor. This is definitely a lot slower than I was expecting. But everything is moving in the right direction. Somewhat. So if we go into here, we should actually have water filling up in the tube there. You can see it moving along. So then we'll have to check afterwards for any leaks in that as well. Alright, so I'm just checking, seeing what's going on here, see if we have any noticeable water issues. So far, we do got water in the line here. We just need to allow it to get all that air out of there. Okay, I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you look on my hoses, the lines are starting to drip on them. They're starting to weep, all those little holes that we did. So I've got water coming in on a few of them here. And it's just going to do exactly that. It's just going to do a little drip system here. It's not going to be too aggressive on it. I just want to make sure all the lines have water coming out of them. And definitely not into my enclosure here. So yeah, we'll just have to let it work all the air out. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to start building that pressure at the end. It's going to work its way this way once all the air is out of the line, and hopefully we get water dripping from all of our lines here. Yeah, so it looks like 2 of them are going right at the moment here. So that's a start. Oh, hell no. Oh no, I just found a leak on my line here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that turned off. So yeah, there we go. First puddle. So that is coming off of my flow sensor. I don't know where it is exactly. So I'm just going to let it purge the rest of the water out here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect this, and I'm just going to basically force blow through it to get the rest of it out, so we can get that sealed up, because now that's dripping down below here. So yeah, I guess food for thought. Always test your stuff before you put it into your build. So obviously I can tell I have an air gap in here because it is just total air in this area here. So I'm getting air input from somewhere, and that's probably where I'm not getting that pressure buildup that I wanted. But so far on the inside of the tank here, I'm not seeing, I got no water dripping from any of the connectors here, so that's good. And we are getting actual moisture on the lines here, even the last one. That being said, I might have to adjust, I might have to check my holes to make sure that they're all doing what they're supposed to. But for now, I think I'm going to pull that flow sensor, and what I'll do is I'll see what I can seal up all around it again, and we'll try again tomorrow and see what happens. So anyways, that's where we're at with that. I'm just going to close this up for the night here, and we will work on it again tomorrow and hopefully get it running. Because once that's running, then we can start finishing up the enclosure and get the camera mounted and get this up on streaming, and then yeah, we'll go ahead and have some fun with it and start getting more sensors involved, like that soil moisture sensor, as well as a bunch of other ones I have that I want to use on the inside here. So if you're wondering, in the back there's the one hole there. That's where I'm going to have a plate coming up, and it's going to actually have the dehumidifier on that. So I'm going to find a 12-volt dehumidifier, so it'll be in the middle of the bay here, circulating the air, and then we're actually going to have an actual intake to the unit from in here. So it's gonna, or no, so anyways, we'll go from, no, we're gonna do a different system. So the heat from this compartment here comes into here, and then the dehumidifier is going to do that. But we also want to be able to cool in here, so I'll make a small port somewhere. I'll have to measure a few different areas to find out where that moisture with the DHT 11s, and see which one is going to actually work the best. But for right now, those are going to probably just keep soaking until whenever, and then I'll be able to check in the morning, make sure none of my hoses are leaking again. Now that I know that it's leaking up here, I've got this down for the night. We're just going to leave the tank here. I've got it basically set up here, so we'll leave it overnight, not with much water in it, so that way if we do get any sort of leakage, it's not going to be that much around here, since I do have power cords on the ground below it. So far that's holding. That works. I like that. But I don't like these connectors. I definitely wish I had a different connector that went from here down to here. I'm gonna have to look through my bin and see if they actually included one, because that would be great, because then I don't have to worry about this connector here. It's just redundant in my books. Sure, if I want to remove it, but honestly it's going to be a pain to move it no matter what, because of the wiring that's connected as well. So you're always only going to get so much distance out of it. But it's good to know that we do have an air leak up here somewhere that is causing the issue with that. So yeah, we will look into that and investigate that more. Alright, so the overnight water test here. I do have one drop of water right there, so I'm gonna have to see. We're definitely gonna have to do something here. But everything up on the electronics looks good, but that's because we have no water going to the flow sensor here. So I will have to remove that today and get that done up. So now I'm just going to go inside here and see if there's any water on the inside. And just give it a quick feel here. And no water on any of the spots underneath there, so it means water is getting to the hoses, no problem. All right, so I'm just gonna put that back down for now. Yeah, but we don't have any leaks from our bucket, so that's a good sign here. I'm not seeing any sort of water leakage around my 3D print there. So that's all siliconed up like you wouldn't believe, but most of it is glued on the inside with that Gorilla Glue, and then on the inside we have that Flex Seal covered, plus it's siliconed, plus it's glued. Like, there's no reason it's gonna actually be leaking. It shouldn't anyways, technically. So what I'm gonna do today is see if I can find an alternative adapter for this guy here, so we can get rid of this green thing and have it just come off of the yellow part there. And then I will see what I can do with that flow meter. I'm probably just gonna pull it off, check it out, silicone it up, and put it back together. Hopefully we can get it sealed up properly, and then we should have a closed system there. And then I will get the plastic on top of the containers here, because I know all the inside stuff is working. My drip lines are working properly. And yeah, then we'll get to doing the holes for each of the peat pucks that are in there. That was the main reason why I wanted to use them. It would be easier to find out where they are going to have to be poked for the holes. So we are going to do that. I will probably have to hand water it for today. And then tonight, once all the silicone and everything's dry, I may also, on the connections in behind there, put some silicone on the connections there, just to add a little extra strength to it. But yeah, I would love to get rid of that connector right there. So we'll see what happens here. See if I can find something that'll work. Okay, so we're running out of time. I just thought I'd do a quick update of what the current setup is. I'm going to run it this way for a couple of days and see how things go. So currently I have my water container up top here. It's working correctly. So the pump that I had, it doesn't have enough pressure to fully pull the water from when it's on the bottom here. So I decided we were going to put it up top for now. Now I have two choices. I either mount all this stuff down lower and build a reservoir up top that can then down feed for now, or get a bigger pump, which I think that's what I will end up doing. So right now I do have my flow sensor hooked up. It's not leaking now, but the software I'm using, it doesn't allow for it. So what do? It's going to stay hooked up for now, because I'm going to eventually be using that. And that's on GPIO number 8 over here. And then so far I have right here, I think 22 to 28 are my lights and the water solenoid and the water pump. And then I have, I do believe, the one line free. And then this one here I have completely free on the relay there. I've got more stuff to add. So the next thing I'm going to do is add the soil moisture meter. Now the software, it's been known that it doesn't work that well, or you're only gonna get a couple of months. But this is gonna help me know how much water I need to be giving my plants first thing in the morning, and then be able to kind of adjust that as I go along. So that's what I'll be doing there. And then I think I'll be putting a DHT11 sensor in there, or something like that. Anyways, it's going to go in there for temperature and humidity. Yes, I do have the thermostat running here, but it is unrelated to the Raspberry Pi, so I might have this bounce back up to one of these other relays here. So this will actually turn on when other things are happening. So other than that, that's basically it for this stuff here. I haven't used anything on the 5-volt relay as of yet either. So the current wattage right now, we're sitting at 77 watts of power being consumed right now for the full system. And that is basically the lights and the Raspberry Pi. Now it's 60 watts, I do believe, close to, for the lights alone. So the Raspberry Pi being 5 volt, 3 amp, there's another 15 watts. So we're getting close to that. So it's sitting at, 77. But then with that being said, we also have things running here that are actually consuming more power as well. That's not being monitored, like the 12 to 5 volt converter here, and this one up here as well. But yeah, everything is running through the fuse block. Nothing's popped, so we're good there. And then just basic wiring here. And then once again, my rat's nest back here. But the good news, you won't be able to really see it, but let me just tell you some of the, let me see if I can get a good spot here. There we go. So there's my radishes on the right there. I've got this plastic over it for right at the moment until I get my side panel built here this weekend, hopefully. So that'll finish up the enclosure, and I should then have my soil moisture sensors in each container, I think. Is what I would like to do. As you can see, those heating pads there, they're just those bicycle handle ones, or whatever you want to call them. 12 volts, I do believe they are. 12 volts or 5 volts? No, those are the 5 volt ones, I do believe. Right? How do I have them wired up here? So that's my 5 volt line. I do believe that is going to a relay. So yeah, 5 volt in, 5 volt out. And that's going to one of those relays there. See if I can, no, I can't really focus much more in there. Yeah, and so that's turning that on through that thermostat there, so that's working good. Earlier today, when I didn't have the software working properly, as there was a bit of an issue with it, with the update on it, I wasn't able to have my light on, so I basically just ran those elements there, and then just put my cheap New Arc lamp that I'd bought quite a while ago, and yeah, it seemed to make them all perk up, so I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Once again, there's a solenoid up there with the diode on there. Water, I will get a lid and some sort of aeration going in there. Oxygen bubble or something going on in there to make it a little bit nicer, which then this will add oxygen to, I think it will, I don't know, I'll do something with the oxygen at some point here, so that way it gets distributed through the system. It would be nice to be able to tie in or tee off with another solenoid, or have this go into, anyways, yeah, we'll figure out something anyways. This project is going to be far from over by the time the competition ends, the design challenge. Another thing I have to do is I have to get my webcam installed. I think I might have to run another Raspberry Pi just for that, which is okay. I'm still, once again, using only a small amount of wattage right now. This is, I do believe, a 300 watt power supply here. I used it for my mining equipment, my script miners back a few years ago. It's So I'm just basically reusing it since those are no longer worth using and powering. So this, at least I get to eat them when they're done growing, whereas mining script, Litecoin and that, I still have some machines running it, but very low powered units. So, yeah, no leaks inside so far. The water lines are all holding. I do have to seal up around the pump here. Other than that, those are clamped on there. I would like to add a fan on here. I am going to do that at some point here, get the dehumidifier in here, and a couple of other things. But yeah, we're at the point where we can just let things grow. I don't know if we can, you can see it in here. Well, you can't see it really, but anyways, I thought I'd try. So once again, here is, we've got 2 rows of this, 2 rows of this, what's that? And then 2 rows of this, and then we got 3 rows of spinach, because you know you want to make sure you get lots of iron. And then we have the radishes on the right there doing really well. We have the parsley. We have the parsley and the green onions doing their things in there as well. I did have a little bit of humidity built up on there when the machine was off on the top of the plastic on the trays, but it's now completely gone from the actual heat in the unit here. And that's just the water coming off of the drip lines there. I have a couple of the hoses under some dirt and most of them on top, just to kind of see if there is a difference, and maybe we'll see what we can do. But once again, I'm not a gardener, even though it is my last name. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and play with this, and the more we can automate things and do things, we'll do it. Once again, this project will probably grow from here, but it is a learning experience. So I hope you guys are enjoying, and yeah, we'll go and take a look at the software in just a moment. Okay, so we're sitting at 23.2 degrees inside here right now. So it's been running for a few days now. I'm finding there is some issues that I need to resolve. One being when my pump goes on here. Let's go over here for a second. So when my pump goes on here, there's too much pressure on the output there, so it's not actually pumping as much as it should be, and therefore it's just taking its sweet time to get to the plants, because it is a drip water system, right? So far, no holes, no leaks, no nothing anywhere in the system. I can actually get rid of that guy now. Yeah, so this weekend I'm gonna get that enclosure built here, but I do need, let me just open this up here, and we'll go inside here and have a look. So I don't know how well this is gonna go on here, but as you can see here, I've got let me see if I can darken this just a little bit here. So I've got my radishes coming up. My parsley and onions are not wanting to come up, but my spinach and most of my lettuce is coming up. So what I think I need to do is I need to actually pull the plastic off of these for now. It is working, but I just think they're going to be happier being open. It is pretty moist in here though right now. So I want to get that humidity sensor going. Yeah, it's definitely warm in here. Wow. Anyways, so that's it. As you can see here, they're doing well. I really wanted to keep that, but I'm finding what I needed to have happen was I needed my containers to be as full as possible and my water line holes bigger, and that way if you can see, this guy's hiding underneath the plastic, so he hasn't found his way here, which I'll have to once I take off the plastic for them, it'll allow for more breathing room for him. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. As much as I don't want to, I want to keep them as enclosed there, so that way it keeps the soil as moist or as warm as possible in the containers as well. That way it's not a huge area, but I need to address those water lines, and I don't know if you can see here inside there, you can see just one little droplet on there, but I don't think it's getting the water that it requires. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get that taken off. That's a for next time kind of a thing. I'm going to fill the containers completely full, so that way the plastic is right on top, and then make a hole cutting tool with a seating end on it or something that we'll be able to plant our seeds and make sure they get in the right spots. So that was kind of my fault on that one, but this is a learning experience, so we'll go with that for now. And I don't know if you can see with these lights on, it's kind of hard to see everything, but yeah, things are growing. And yeah, I just want to make sure I get more water into the parsley and the onions there, and make sure all the guys that are wanting to come up have ample time to be able to rise up. So I will be back, and I will probably record a bit more tomorrow, so you guys can see where we're at. I want to get my Raspberry Pi webcam streaming here in just a moment, so that's what I'm working on tonight. So hopefully this will be up on Twitch or YouTube. I'm gonna have to try to find out which one's gonna work better, but I have a Raspberry Pi all ready to go for that. And so we'll be streaming on a Raspberry Pi to Twitch. It will be a part of this system, and yeah, I'll have a couple cameras on this, and you guys will be able to watch some of my build, and further on after the build's complete, some footage of hopefully some harvesting and replanting and some good old times. So I will be back. Okay, so I just pulled off all of the covers there. As you can see, a little closer up look here, that we're growing. Now, after further inspection, I'm feeling all the soil here, and everything is still pretty moist. Like, there is no reason why I can't continue to run the system the way I am. So what I could do is put just a little bit larger holes into the lines in certain sections, and that way I don't get so much pressure buildup. But it is, by the looks of it, even now still dripping into the containers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give everything a day to do its thing with the cover on, see what happens tomorrow. Looks like I might have to replant a few things that I pulled up while actually removing the covers there, and then we'll see if some of those other guys decide to perk up. Now, like I said, I do wish I had filled the soil level up to the top of it, and had then used the pucks there to actually have them lined up with the top of the plastic instead of having them inset here. But I wasn't too sure exactly how well these water lines would work. But now, like I said, after inspecting it, they seem to be doing the trick. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to seal this up for the night. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. Oh, the poor guy over there. Anyways, and we'll see what happens here. Okay, so we just finished the morning watering. Looking in there, looks like most of them perked up there. I'll have to open it up later on today and see what's going on. I'm definitely finding that the holes in that hose for my drip line need to be a little bit bigger, and I think then I can slow the duration of the pump time down in half, if not less than that, to get the amount of water I want in there. But right now all the containers are moist. Currently I don't have any condensation or moisture on my enclosure. I think a lot of that has to do with keeping that ambient temperature in there in the the low 20s. So right now it's at 23. At nighttime I keep it at about 21 degrees Celsius, so that way it actually is not getting to the point where the soil is warmer than the air. So that's probably a good bonus, but so far I haven't seen any moisture on the enclosure, so I'm quite happy with that. I was worried about that, about installing fans in it, but as of right now I don't think I'm gonna need them. It's definitely something later on, once the plants get bigger and more condensation is going to happen. I will have to get that dehumidifier in there and get things going better. But as far as a closed system, it's working fairly well. But that being said, this is what my average room temperature is, as well as my humidity. So I'm below average in my office here. I would like to see that up in the 30s, but you know what? It's winter time. There's not much we can do about that. So we are going to go with that for now. Yeah, I've had this running now for 2 days and 12 hours or something like that, non-stop. So far no issues, everything's working as it should. I got lots of work left to go on it, but getting it working to the point where I can start growing was the main thing, so that way we can start to make a harvest and be able to continuously pull lettuce and spinach and radishes and parsley and onions off the unit. And like I said, we're just going to make it so that the plants don't go to seed, so that way we can continually harvest off of it. And that's one thing I think a lot of people think when don't think about when planting, is the fact that you can just continually pull leaves off of it and harvest it that way and continually use more and more. But we'll see how much we can acquire. Once again, the streaming Raspberry Pi will be installed today, and then we'll get that up on Twitch or YouTube. I'm not too sure which. I'll make a separate account over my main account, so that way no one's getting mad at me for just showing my plants. So the idea is to have one camera on all the electronics and then another camera inside the enclosure. That way we can kind of monitor both, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I just want to show off what I'm doing here. So I have an old laptop here with the Debian OS on it. I'm using the Intel one just because I wanted to get OBS running on it, or OBS. So that way I can stream this onto Twitch, as you can see here. The one bad part about using an old laptop is the high CPU usage, so I had to like downgrade the video feed and everything. But right now all I have running for that is an old Xbox 360 web camera, and also my Logitech camera on the inside here that you can see now, but it will disappear from view once I get this side panel on today, which I will be doing really shortly here. So we're going to get that side panel on, and then the enclosure should be pretty close to being finished, except for the panel that goes on this side, which will be added after I get the dehumidifier and fan ports on here. But we will get some air circulation in there. But so far, it looks like all of them are doing well. I might plant some more radishes in there, just to get some more radishes going. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna get this panel done. So all I'm gonna do is go and grab a chunk of cardboard, start hacking it up, have some coffee, and yeah, that's what I'm doing here. And unfortunately I did want to run this all on a Raspberry Pi, but I'm using the headless mode here on this unit, on the software here, so we can't really do it on there efficiently enough, and I don't have any secondary cooling on the Raspberry Pi there. What I was going to do, if the system would have allowed for the GUI desktop, was be able to run Restream on it, which I've done in the past on my main Raspberry Pi desktop that I use all the time, and that's what I would have used on there to stream this. So definitely can be done. I can probably even add another Raspberry Pi to the system to even remove the actual wattage of using this laptop, and then I can actually stream it 24/7. Right now, once again, we're just using about 77.3 watts of power. Let's have a look here. See what we're here. So we have, so 5 days up. Let's have a look here. So wattage low is 0.2. You're always going to get that. And wattage high, so under 100 watts at the maximum. So that's probably when the full system's been on. That includes the water pump, the water solenoid, the heaters in the back of the unit here, as well as everything else on the system so far. So that's not too bad, under 100 watts. And then if we add another Raspberry Pi, you know, we're going to be at another 15 watts basically of power draw. Then we can stream that on there. So I only have this 300 watt, I think it's 300 watt power supply here. So I want to keep well under that, but if I need to, we can always update the power supply, but keeping this as a low powered system is the main goal. So that's why we might have to just revisit the Raspberry Pi here and create our own operating dashboard for the relays and everything, which is definitely doable. And we can then be able to use other options for being able to stream this, and then be able to add our own little dashboard as well. Here we go. I'll be back in just a moment, and I will have the side panel on. Okay, so we're inside the enclosure right at the moment, and I just want to show you the update of how things are growing in here. I did plant some more radishes along that far wall there, so we'll get those growing here. Here is a better view of those foot heating pads there that I had posted about. Like I said, they are working well. And then we have our custom mount here for our camera. And then up over here we have our temperature sensor here for our thermostat. Probably not the most ideal solution to have it there. I might lower it down, but for right now it's that nighttime heat that I want. And then we'll get some fans to circulate the air on the inside. But as of right now, it's looking pretty good here. So if you are watching the live stream, you're probably only seeing like this much. You're not seeing what's growing on the sides here. So the radishes are on the right there, parsley in the middle, and the green onions are yet to come up here. I think, oh, there's one right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. There it is. So we've got some stuff happening. So I have a feeling that we will see some more action here soon on that. But the parsley is starting to come up as well. These radishes are just growing like you wouldn't believe. Now I don't think I should have planted them in the pucks, but so that's why I ended up putting more along the edge of the container here, and we'll see what happens anyways. Alright, so the final rundown of the project here. So everything, we have just the left top relays running at the moment here. Everything's going through the fuse block. Raspberry Pi is being run by the 12 to 5 volt step down, and then the LEDs are being run by the 12 to 5 little black step down to USB. Actually, no, wait, that should be my heating pads on the inside. The LEDs are actually running off the 12 volt relay. That's right. The flow meter is installed. I'm going to start to play with other software and see what I can do myself and get a better dashboard done. Lots of things left to do. I'm going to print some caps on these guys here, so that way it'll cover up around and kind of make it look a little bit prettier. I will get the other side panels installed here, but for now, until I figure out what I want to do with the front door enclosure, right now it's just the green tape on it there holding it together. They will fold outwards. I did take an X-Acto knife and slice down on the inside all the way down, so that way this will bend out. I'm not really happy that this bend is here, but that it is what it is. This side opens and closes nicely. Yeah, so that's about it. I've got it being monitored on Twitch right now. So make sure to check that out. We'll hopefully see some more growing. I will get the fan installed, as well as a few other things, temperature and humidity sensor in there, the DHT11, as well as see if I can get something going with the soil moisture meter as well. There's just lots to do, And yeah, it was quite the adventure to get it to this point here where I'm actually growing something. Lots of changes can happen, like I said, depending where you are. If you need a cooling system, a heating system, lots of factors to play in as well, like the heating from the LEDs to the water to everything. So right now, the cat litter box, or the cat litter container, is doing well. I have no leaks, no water on the inside of the enclosure here. There's no leaks or anything in there. So yeah, I do have to feed it from above. Once again, I'd probably just move this entire electronics down or on half of the unit and push it all to one side, and then have all the pumps and everything lower down here, and then have a larger water reservoir that I could fill, but then having the water lines at the bottom, so that way I always get a constant down pressure. And once again, this is for Earth, not for in space. In space, I would certainly have to come up with an option for constantly keeping the main water reservoir full, so that way we're not getting too much actual air or other into the water line. So it would definitely have to have an oxygen line on the water enclosure, so that way it could actually, if anything is being introduced into the system, it's going to be good clean air. So yeah, that's about it for this project here. It's been lots of fun. I have so I guess in less than a week here, or I guess in a week here, it's cost me about 84 cents to run this unit. So that's not too bad, $1 a week. And that's the thing, trying to keep those power, the power usage down, which could certainly be even lower if I remove one of the relays for now and unpowered a few of the items not being used. Yeah, so I will get the oxygen lines going as soon as I bring my concentrator home. Yeah, we'll just play around with it, try some new things. Once the harvest has kind of started, I'm going to go ahead and at that point start playing around more with the unit, and hopefully while this is doing its thing, using another Raspberry Pi for doing examples and coming up with the software that I want to use, as well as try different scenarios, so that way I can have this only down for a small amount of time. But collecting the data internally and externally is definitely going to be on the list to do. So that way we have the ambient out, or the temperatures outside the enclosure as well as inside being logged, and then we can see the variances. What is, what zones are actually getting what heat as well, and being able to more and more upgrade and adjust as we go along here. So with that being said, here's a little sneak peek of the enclosure growing and my side panel. This is what it looks like on Twitch right now. I'd like to thank you all for checking out my project. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helped you think a little bit outside the box, and maybe you can come up with something of your own similar to this that in the future. I would definitely like to see what other people come up with ideas for growing in any sort of situation. So I see that there is a ton of projects on this design channel that are very amazing, and I'm quite impressed with how over the last year with Element 14, how much has actually gone into our actual growing ability when it comes to plants and sustainable living. And that is a huge thing, being able to have a community where we can all kind of show our own experiences, what we've done and what we've learned. Now, prior to today, I did not check out anyone's projects because I didn't want to be influenced by them. So I'm going to go, I got some catching up to do for sure, and check out some of their projects and how they're making out. But that is it for me for now. I will be posting some updates on a few of the portions of the project here. Just some information that I needed to collect and have video footage of, so you guys can enjoy. So that's it. Take care, eh?